She stepped off that train wrapped in hope and a worn-out cloak, ready to start over as a mail-order bride. But the family that invited her took one look and said, "We don't want someone like you. Too old. Probably can't have children." Just like that, she was left standing in the snow with nowhere to go. That's when a quiet rancher stepped forward, offered his coat, and changed both their lives forever. This is the story of two broken hearts that refuse to stay broken. If this story stirred something in you, go ahead and subscribe. There's always another tale waiting, and I'd love to share it with you. On a snow-dusted train platform, a locomotive from the south hissed to a stop, bringing with it passengers and the weight of their dreams. Among them stepped Niola, an Apache widow wrapped in a threadbare cloak. Her dark eyes still held a flicker of hope after the long journey. She had been invited by a white family to become a mail-order bride, a chance to begin again after so much loss. That hope died in a handful of cold words. The Stonefield family stood waiting. They looked her over from head to toe, then turned away without ceremony. "We don't want someone like you. Too old. You probably can't have children." The words cut deep. Whispers rippled through the crowd. "An Indian. She must be desperate. Nobody needs a widow anymore." Niola stood frozen, her luggage scattered at her feet, snow gathering slowly at the hem of her dress. Every gaze felt like ice. From the far corner of the platform, Samuel Carter had been watching, a widowed rancher who lived alone on the outskirts of town. He saw something in her eyes that others missed. Not just shame, but a quiet, unshakable strength. He stepped forward, placed his old wool coat over her shoulders, and spoke gently. "It gets pretty cold around here. If you haven't figured out where to go yet, my ranch always has a porch. You can rest under reach, my ranch." Samuel's ranch was humble and warm. The fences leaned at odd angles. The horse stable stood nearly empty, sheltering only a few sick horses trembling in the dim light. Inside the old wooden house, the scent of wood smoke mixed with the smell of decay, the fragrance of a life lived in solitude. The room at the end of the hallway is still empty. Samuel said as he led her inside, "It's not much, but at least it has a roof and a fireplace." That evening, the snow fell heavier on the dirt road leading from the station. Niola stood silently on the wooden steps, uncertain where to turn. Once the crowd had dispersed, Samuel returned, still holding the wool coat he had given her. "My ranch isn't far from here," he said softly, his eyes showing not pity, but something closer to respect. "If you don't have a place to stay, then for now, it can be home." Niola stayed quiet for a moment. She had been cast out by white folks before, and even rejected by her own tribe. Her pride had been weathered smooth, but the way this man looked at her was different. He didn't see her as a burden or someone to pity. He saw her as a person. She nodded, and so, under a gray sky, the two of them rode together on horseback toward the edge of town to a small, forgotten ranch tucked into the wide-open prairie. The days that followed passed slowly, as if time itself moved more gently at the Carter Ranch than it did in the rest of the world. Two people who had once been cast aside began to weave their lives together through quiet, ordinary gestures. But it was those small things that laid the foundation for something deeper. Each morning, when the first light slipped through the window, Niola was already up, tending the fire and cooking a pot of corn porridge. She never said thank you when Samuel left a cup of warm milk outside her door each day, but she poured it into a bowl and drank every last drop Samuel never asked why his house was getting cleaner, why the chairs were neatly arranged, or why the stables were being cleared out regularly. But he knew. Someone was quietly stitching back together the broken pieces of a life he had long abandoned. In the afternoon, they worked side by side by the fence. Samuel taught Niola how to check horse hooves and treat wounds. In return, she shared small tricks the Apache used to heal livestock with wild herbs. As the sun set, they would sit together on the wooden porch, watching the red clouds drift across the sky in silence. No words were needed. The quiet between them felt warmer than any conversation ever could. One evening, as the prairie turned golden under the fading sun, Niola opened up for the first time about her past. She spoke of her Apache husband, who had fallen in battle defending their village from mercenaries, and how the tribe had blamed her as a curse, casting her out like a bearer of misfortune. Samuel said nothing for a long while. Then he spoke of his wife and daughter, who had died in a snowstorm years ago, and the helplessness he felt when his own hands couldn't hold on to them. In that moment, they were no longer strangers. They were two souls carrying the same scars, two hearts that had once shattered, now finding each other through quiet understanding. That night, Samuel added an extra log to the fireplace and stayed a little longer than usual. And Niola, for the first time in many years, no longer flinched at the sound of wind howling outside the window. In the stillness of the western night, something was slowly beginning to change gently, but in a way that could never be undone. Winter crept into the borderlands, slow and cold. By the time the first layer of snow covered the roof of the horse stable, the bond between Samuel and Niola had become more than simple understanding. It was slowly turning into something deeper. But just as their hearts began to open, the outside world closed in tighter than ever. Rumors spread across Denton Hollow like wildfire. An Indian woman is living with a widowed rancher. She's clinging to his land just for a place to stay. A savage pretending to be a proper wife. Every time Niola went into town to buy cornmeal or salt, hateful eyes stabbed into her back. Some people spat on the ground as she passed. Children threw stones and called her a savage. The pressure grew heavier when an invitation arrived at the ranch. The sender was Agnes Whitlock, the mayor's wife, a powerful woman infamous for her arrogance. In the letter, she invited Niola to a ladies' afternoon tea at the mayor's mansion. Samuel understood the meaning immediately. It wasn't an honor. It was a test disguised as courtesy. On the day of the gathering, Niola wore the simplest dress she owned. The moment she stepped into the lavish room, the whispers started. Agnes smiled sweetly, but every question she asked cut like a blade. Can your tribe even read? Do you plan to have mixed blood children? Do you truly believe someone like you can own land here? Each mocking word pressed heavier against Niola's chest. She tried to remain composed, but with every passing minute, her dignity felt more and more suffocated. As she left, the cold wind burned against her face, and she knew she was fighting not just the prejudice of an entire town, but also the deepest fear within her, the fear that her presence would cause Samuel to be despised, just as she was. That night, when Samuel returned home after a long day in the stables, he found Niola standing silently by the fireplace. Her gazé distant. She said nothing about the tea, nothing about the cruel words. But Samuel could feel the invisible distance growing between them, a distance neither of them had built, but one the world itself had placed there, and deep inside Niola's heart, a terrifying thought began to form one she couldn't push away. Perhaps leaving was the only way to save him from sharing her shame. Thank you so much for being here. If this story brought back memories of dusty afternoons and the sound of hooves echoing in your heart, consider subscribing to my channel so we can sit together again. And I'll tell you another story from the Wild West. The days following the afternoon tea grew strangely quiet. Niola still did everything as she always did, tending the fire, cleaning the stables, laying herbs out to dry under the sun. Samuel still left a cup of warm milk outside her door each morning, but between them now lay an invisible space, a silence not born from comfort, but from the fear of speaking, the thoughts their hearts were both holding back. For Niola, every contemptuous glance in town was like a blade cutting into old wounds. She remembered the day her own tribe had cast her out, the feeling of standing motionless among those who once called her sister, but now looked at her with nothing but hatred. She had thought this place would be different, that Samuel wouldn't have to bear shame because of her. But now, she was no longer sure. One night, snow fell thick and heavy under a pitch-black, moonless sky. Samuel came home late after bringing the horses into the stable and found Niola sitting in front of the fireplace, the flames casting a soft glow across her pensive face. "Is something wrong?" she asked quietly. She gave a faint smile. Nothing at all. But deep in her eyes, he knew she was hiding something. After Samuel went to bed, Niola stood silently for a long time beside the wooden table near the hearth. In her hands was a beaded Apache necklace, the only thing she had left from her late husband. She had once sworn to wear it until the day she died as a way to keep his memory alive. But tonight, she removed it and placed it gently on the table. "Thank you for everything," she whispered into the darkness, even though Samuel was already fast asleep. "But you deserve a life unburdened by the weight of other people's contempt." Before dawn broke, Niola packed a small bag, wrapped herself in her cloak, and stepped outside. The freezing wind bit at her face, but she didn't look back. Each footprint she left in the white snow felt like a piece of her heart being torn away. She knew that if she stayed, she would bring Samuel nothing but more whispering, more burden he didn't deserve to bear. Inside the house behind her, the fire still burned brightly in the hearth, and on the wooden table, the Apache necklace glimmered in the orange glow, not just a relic of the past, but an unspoken message. "You have become a part of my heart." The sun had not fully risen when Niola left the ranch. The snow had stopped falling, leaving behind a vast, endless blanket of white. The old horse carried her silently along the narrow trail, leading away from Denton Hollow. And in her chest, every heartbeat felt like a goodbye. She didn't cry. She believed her tears had dried up long ago. When the sun crested over the horizon, she paused at the final ridge and looked back one last time at the place that had been her temporary home. The Carter Ranch was now just a tiny dot in the sea of snow. She turned away, but only minutes later, from that direction, a thick black column of smoke began to rise, followed by a surge of bright orange flame tearing through the cold gray sky. Niola's heart clenched. Without a second thought, she yanked the reins. The horse galloped down the snow-covered slope like the wind. The cold air lashed at her face. Tears streamed down her cheeks. And in her mind, there was only one thought. Samuel was still inside. As she drew closer, the fire had already consumed the stable and was crawling across the porch of the main house. The wind whipped the flames into a howling frenzy. The panicked cries of horses rang out from within, mixed with a dry, rasping call. "Samuel," without hesitation, Niola pulled her cloak over her head and charged straight into the blaze. The searing heat stole her breath, The thick smoke turned everything into shadow and ash. She shouted, her voice raw and cracked. "Samuel, where are you?" A cough answered from behind the stable. Samuel was collapsed near a wooden wall, a fallen beam pinning him down. She rushed over, and with all the strength she had, shoved the burning timber aside. "Get up, we have to get out," she shouted, her voice filled with command. Samuel tried to stand, but his strength had failed him. She flung his arm over her shoulder and dragged him step by step toward the exit. Just a few yards from the door, the roof of the stable groaned and split open. Crashing down, flames roared after them. With one final push, she hurled Samuel through the doorway just as the roof collapsed behind her. They tumbled into the thick snow outside, coughing hard in the choking smoke. Samuel gasped for air, looking at the woman who had risked her life to come back for him. His eyes blurred, whether from smoke or tears. He couldn't tell. "You came back to me," he whispered. Niola didn't answer. She only gripped his hand tightly, her eyes trembling, but steady. And in that moment, surrounded by smoke and wind, the two of them understood. Everything they had tried to deny now had no place left to hide. They belonged to each other not because fate had written it that way, but because their hearts had chosen. The fire was finally put out after nearly an hour, leaving behind only a smoking heap of ash and the heavy scent of burnt wood lingering in the air. Samuel sat with his back against a scorched section of the fence, his shoulder loosely bandaged, breath still heavy. Niola sat beside him, her hands blackened and bleeding, but her eyes held a strange, quiet calm. They didn't speak for a long time. Only the sound of wind sweeping across the prairie and the distant scattered cries of frightened horses filled the silence. Finally, Samuel spoke, his voice like someone waking from a dream. "You came back, even though it could have killed you." Niola gave a faint smile, weary but full of meaning. "Because you were the only one who never turned your back on me." Those words pierced straight through the armor Samuel had worn around his heart for so many years. All that he had buried, the loss, the fear, the loneliness rose to the surface, mixing with the feeling he could no longer deny for the woman beside him. A few days later, when Samuel was able to walk again, Niola began packing her things. Though her heart wanted to stay, her mind kept whispering that love couldn't overcome the town's contempt. But this time, Samuel wasn't going to let her leave quietly. That morning, Denton Hollow stirred with a scene it had never witnessed. Right there at the train platform, the place where everything had begun, Samuel Carter, the quiet man who had always kept to himself, stood in front of the crowd, his coat still smelling of smoke, and in his hand was the beaded Apache necklace he had left behind. And in front of everyone, he reached for Niola's hand just as she was about to step onto the train. "The first time I saw you here," he said, his voice cutting through the hush, "I knew my life would change. I don't need a wife to cook or sweep. I don't need someone to keep my land or tend my horses. I need you, the one who gave this place meaning." The crowd murmured. There were looks of shock, others filled with disdain, but among them were a few softer gazes, as if for the first time. They saw something in Samuel he had never shown before: love. Niola stood frozen. Every word he spoke broke through the walls she had built around her heart. The memories of rejection, the wounds of the past, they all seemed small compared to this one moment. The moment a man stood up against the world just to hold on to her. She looked down at the train ticket in her hand, then into Samuel's eyes. A single tear slipped down her cheek. She let go of the ticket, and watched it drift away in the cold Wyoming wind. "I'm staying," she whispered, placing her calloused hand gently over his bro snow. "Not out of gratitude, but because my heart needs you, too." Spring came earlier than usual that year to the land of Denton Hollow. The snow and ice slowly melted from the hillsides, revealing rich, brown soil and the first tender blades of new grass. A spring breeze swept across the wide prairie, carrying with it the scent of new life, and with it, deep and lasting changes at the Carter Ranch. Niola and Samuel stood side by side in front of a newly built stable. The ashes from last year's fire had been replaced by strong, fresh beams of wood. Inside, newborn foals clattered about, their hooves echoing alongside the laughter of two people who once believed they would live the rest of their lives in loneliness. Now, each day began with simple things, but things full of meaning. Samuel rose early, checking the fences and planting the first seed for the new season. Niola set her basket of herbs out to dry in the sun and tended the chickens behind the barn. In the evening, they would sit together on the porch, sharing little stories of the past, of forgotten dreams, and of a future they were slowly building together. A few months later, the first cry of a child rang through the wooden house. Their daughter, a mixed-race child of the frontier, had her mother's deep, dark eyes and her father's warm smile. They named her Elaine, which meant light, the very thing that had guided them through their darkest days. The town of Denton Hollow slowly began to change. The scornful looks that once followed Niola softened. Some people still whispered, but others began to nod in greeting when she walked through the market with her child. A few families even sent their children to the ranch to attend the little school Niola had opened for the frontier's youth. Acceptance didn't come all at once, but they kept living, kept loving, and kept proving that prejudice could never outlast persistence. One evening, as the sun dipped behind the mountains, Samuel sat on the porch, his daughter sleeping in his arms, and Niola rested her head gently on his shoulder. Together, they gazed across the field where horses grazed beneath the crimson glow of sunset. "I once believed I would die alone out here," Samuel said softly, "and I once thought there would never be a place I could call home." Niola whispered in reply. They sat in silence for a long time. No more words were needed, because now everything they had once lost had been replaced by something far greater: a home, a family, and a love born of pain, yet strong enough that nothing could ever break it. Dear friends, love doesn't come from a glance across a crowded room. It comes from two hearts that have weathered the storm and still choose to hold on to each other. It's not a magic that erases the past, but a strength that allows us to keep moving forward, to believe that even a heart once shattered can begin again. Here in the harsh West, where sandstorms and blood have swept away countless lives, there still burns a quiet flame, the flame of two hearts once broken, now found. It's been my deepest honor to share this story with you. I truly hope that no matter what life throws your way, you find happiness, peace, and the courage to keep going. I've spent years collecting stories from the Old West, not the Hollywood version, but the real human moments that got buried under dust and time. This is one of them. Point one. Love doesn't always announce itself with grand gestures. Sometimes it starts with something as simple as a cup of warm milk left outside a door every morning. Never acknowledged, but never missed. Niola never said thank you, but she drank every last drop. That quiet rhythm between two people who've been cast aside became the foundation for everything that followed. Real connection is built in the small. steady things we do when no one's watching. Point 2. The world will test you hardest, right when your heart starts to open. Just as Samuel and Niola were beginning to trust what was growing between them, the town closed in with rumors, whispers, and hatred. Agnes Whitlock invited Niola to tea, not as an honor, but as a test disguised as courtesy. Every question was meant to humiliate her. That's when Niola realized she wasn't just fighting the town's prejudice. She was fighting her own fear that she'd bring Samuel down with her. Point 3. Sometimes the bravest thing you can do is choose someone even when the whole world is watching. Samuel stood on that train platform in front of everyone, coat still smelling of smoke, holding the necklace Niola had left behind. He didn't whisper. He didn't hide. He told the crowd he needed her not to cook or clean. But because she gave his life meaning, that moment didn't erase the town's contempt. But it told Niola she was worth fighting for. Point 4. You'll know what matters most when you're forced to choose in an instant. Niola had already ridden away, believing she had to leave to protect Samuel from shame. But when she saw smoke rising from the ranch, she didn't hesitate. She turned that horse around and rode straight into the fire. She pulled a burning beam off him and dragged him out as the roof collapsed behind them. In that moment, everything they'd tried to deny became impossible to ignore. Point 5. Acceptance doesn't come all at once, but persistence outlasts prejudice every time. The town of Denton Hollow didn't wake up one day and decide to embrace Niola. It happened slowly, a nod in the market, a family sending their child to the little school she opened, a softening of the looks that used to cut like knives. Samuel and Niola didn't wait for permission to build their life. They just kept living, kept loving, and eventually the world had no choice but to make room for them. Stay strong.